All right, it's another episode, a special episode of the RSL Random Fan Podcast. We are joined by the soon-to-be world famous Gary Smith, the voice of Crawley Town. And as anybody that has been paying attention and listening to the Come On Crawley update every week on our podcast, you know that Crawley Town has made it to the EFL final. So thank you, Gary, for joining us. Would love to catch up with you. I always love talking English football and talking about my favorite Crawley Town, the Reds. So how's it going, Gary?
It's going really well, Brian. Thank you for having me on again. I love the backdrop that you've got there behind you. Sadly, I've got nothing quite as sensational here. I'll make sure that if they win on Sunday, that the wall opposite me gets plastered in a Crawley mural or something on the wall there. I'll speak to Wendy about that and make sure that gets organised.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure
But
he's,
no,
yeah.
I'm doing okay. It's great to be back on with you, and it's obviously great to be discussing the season, and it's great to be discussing the fact that there's still, I believe, one more game to go, isn't there, this weekend?
Yes, one game, one more game to go. So
Mm,
before we get too much into that, maybe some quick thoughts. I think we talked to you before the season about predictions, and there was a
mm.
lot of um, consternation that this season might have gone like last season, or maybe a little bit better, but not much. So, were you surprised at how this season turned out, and maybe when did you see things changing and heading in such a positive direction?
I think everybody is surprised at the way the season has panned out, really, right? When you think back to the summer and the clear out of players that Crawley had, and the 16 or 17 new players that came in, some of whom are behind you there on the wall, people coming from clubs where they'd not really fitted in, clubs where they weren't sort of being able to force their way into the first team. The likes of Jay Williams coming from non-league, Clyde Lolos coming in from non-league. Some of these have been absolute sensations this season. Like Jay Williams is now an international player. Got called up for his for his own country earlier this season, playing for Banbury United. I think it was this time last year. I don't think anybody would have anticipated what was coming. I think you can see the shoots of things early on in the season. Some great victories, starting with that opening day victory over Bradford City. Going through, I remember winning 4-0 or 4-1, I think it was, at the Broadfield against Newport County quite early on in the season as well. And you could see that the likes of players such as Adam Campbell and Ronan Darcy and people like this were fitting in fantastically into what Scott was trying to deploy with the team. But I think if I was going to pinpoint a turning point, and I've been asked this question a couple of times this week, I think strangely, Brant, I think it's a game that you were able to see, and I think it was that away day victory at Bradford, where Crawley were trailing by 2-1 with 5 minutes to go, and somehow came back to win by 4-2. I know that you and I and your wife met after the ground. I know you met Ken, didn't you, and some of the players as they were getting on the coach to
Met
depart the
Tom
ground.
Allman, the general manager as well.
Right. And when I was, obviously it was a long journey back for me to drive 4.5 hours back after that game. And I was thinking back about the game, and I was just thinking, there could be something really special here happening, because the determination of the players, the way they got themselves back into the game, not just to get back into the game and take a point from the game because of it was a draw, but to then go on and find what we thought was going to be a winning goal in the shape of the penalty to make it 3-2, then the breakaway goal that made it 4-2. You just suddenly thought there's a real fighting spirit here and a real togetherness amongst this side. Some of the football that has been played has been absolutely sensational. And I think another game that I could pinpoint would be where Crawley came from behind to beat Notts County at home by 2-1. I think that was about March. Adeyemo got the winner, Adeyemo. They'd taken the lead, Notts County. Adeyemo smashed home the winner, I think, quite late on in the game for his only goal of the season. And I just thought, again, the togetherness, the resilience, the camaraderie and everything within the squads, and the determination to get themselves back into that game. And you just then suddenly thought, if they can stay clear of injuries and stay clear of suspensions, this side could certainly be in and around it come the end of the season. And myself and Tony and Mark, who's one of the local journalists, and also Ken as well, and I've had Ken with me. We've always sort of said all season that there was the potential to be in and around the top 10. Things had to go their way slightly. Yes, there's been some disappointments along the way, some disappointing results, some good performances where maybe Crawley haven't got the result that they deserved. Maybe on the other side of the coin, they've got results where maybe the performance didn't warrant it. But you just knew that there was a potential to finish in the top 10. And against the struggles and the traumas of last season, that would have been an unbelievable achievement anyway. If Crawley had finished the season 9th or 10th, that would have been great. To suddenly be in with a chance of the playoffs on the final day was great. To make the playoffs was unbelievable. And the way they totally dismantled MK Dons over the 2 playoff semi-finals was, I was running out of superlatives by the time they were scoring the 4th and the 5th goal last Saturday night. It was great to be seeing it. MK Dons had given up the ghost a little bit by then, but Crawley really put them to the sword and showed just how capable they are of finishing teams off that maybe they hadn't done at other stages of the season.
Yeah, it was quite the season, and I was running out of shock and surprise, and it was just ended up with giddy laughter after during the MK, because even though we were up 3, Doncaster had been up 2-0, and they let their lead vanish and lost in penalty kicks, and so you just never know. The season before, everybody was focusing on, was it Peterborough that was up 4-0 after the first game, and they lost in penalty kicks in the second game. So I never felt like it was truly over for the MK Dons until I think we got that 4th goal, 5th goal. They just, it was stunning. That Bradford City game was a ton of fun, and you could probably sense that there was something special that my wife and I brought. I will take full credit for that Bradford game for showing
Of course.
turning the tide of the season.
Yep.
So how has it's been, like we talked about all season, been an amazing season. It's been an incredibly fun ride. How has the attitude changed towards the owners? Has it changed a little bit? Winning kind of cures everything. But have you had any conversations with Preston and Hunter and the other owners?
Well, I hear from Hunter pretty much every game. He's always in touch from Baltimore. My geography of the States is not great, Brant. I'm not sure where that lies in relation to where you are, Baltimore.
It's a long ways away. It's 5 hours away. It's a 5-hour flight away.
Okay. He's regularly in touch. I know he always has like a breakfast party to get his troops around there to listen and to watch the game, etc. Preston was due to come on the radio with me a couple of weeks ago after the victory against Grimsby. Had secured the playoff spot. But Scott came up live to me at the commentary point, and we did the interview live. Preston then had to take a phone call, but it would just seem that there is a slightly different attitude now, I think, towards the owners. I think the frustration spilled over a bit towards the owners because of the way last season was panning out. 5 different managers during the course of the season, including Scott for the second half of the season, wasn't ideal. They did what they needed to do to survive. And I think this season, the owners have pretty much sort of left Scott alone to get on with things. But also, I think that continuity of just one man in charge from start to finish has obviously got to be more beneficial for the players, hasn't it? Because new people coming in would employ new tactics. Certain players might fall out of favour. They would bring in maybe players from former clubs that they wanted to play, etc. I just think the big load of transfers like we talked about at the start of the season, then just allowing Scott to nurture the team the way that he wanted them to play has obviously, bared fruit now, hasn't it? In the fact that we're off to Wembley on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I think my favorite quote from Scott Lindsay that kind of put it all into perspective was when he mentioned that it took 28 days after he took charge, 28 days for all the players to show up on time.
Okay.
And so it sounds like there was trouble all over the place. Behind the scenes, and fortunately for us, Scott came in. I love the way he coaches. I love the way he approaches. He's done some amazing things. He's probably been instrumental in the not the resurrection, but the direction that Corey Adai in goal has taken. They kind of took him out early, and they probably worked on probably more mental than anything else.
Mhm.
and he's come back and just been amazing between the pipes. So, question: what does it mean to go to Wembley? I'm an American. We talk to Americans all the time. Put it in perspective what it means for a club like Crawley to go to Wembley.
For a club like Crawley, Brent, it is just a phenomenal achievement. You know, clubs like Manchester City, Manchester United, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, teams like that, their opportunity to get to Wembley will roll around season in, season out through the FA Cup, through the League Cup, through a European competition where the final might be at Wembley, through a lot of these players playing for England and getting the opportunity to play at Wembley in internationals. For teams like Crawley and Crewe, and in the National League playoff a couple of weeks ago, Bromley, Solihull Moors, last week in the FA Trophy, Gateshead and Solihull Moors, tomorrow afternoon at Wembley, Bolton and Oxford United in the League One playoff final to see who goes into the Championship. For teams like these, this opportunity of going to Wembley doesn't roll around too often. You know, Crawley, and I don't mean it horribly, Crawley or Crewe or any of those sort of sides are not going to get to Wembley in the FA Cup final. So this is their opportunity. Things like the EFL Trophy or the, what's it called now? The Bristol Street Motors Trophy, where Crawley did well, got out of the group, beat Bristol Rovers, lost to the eventual winners, Peterborough. That sort of competition with the carrot of a Wembley final is great. But the bread and butter of the league is what everybody plays for, the 46 games of the season to potentially go up into a better level of football. And for this opportunity to come around for Crawley Town is just unbelievable, really. Little old Crawley, as Scott has called them many times during the course of the season, written off by many at the start of the season. Not written off, but people raised their eyebrows at, like I said to you at the start of the conversation, at some of these players that were coming in, untried, untested, coming from 2 divisions below, being released by other clubs. Danilo Orsi, yes, he could score a few goals here and there. He had 2 in 20 odd appearances, I think, for Grimsby before he came to us in the summer. He's now got, I think, 25 before going into Sunday or something like that. I think he's now become Crawley's record ever goal scorer in one particular season. So things are obviously working, and for Crawley to be going to Wembley is a wonderful, wonderful achievement for everybody connected with the club, not just the players, everybody behind the scenes. Everybody works so hard. It's a great family club. They do a lot of great work out there in the community. It is a great reward for a club like Crawley, and it means you can see to the fans, you know, the hardcore 2,500, 3,000 that are there every week. Suddenly, Crawley have sold nearly 20,000 tickets for people to be there on Sunday afternoon. It's just incredible. And you just hope, win or lose on Sunday, that some of these 20,000 that are coming will see just how good a side Crawley have developed into and will come back next season. And even if in League Two, you know, the increase in the attendances might go up, you know, 100, 150% from what it's been this season.
Yeah, I did my part. I bought a ticket and actually,
I saw that. I saw
I
that. That's
actually,
incredible.
gave it to one of the Crawley fans on Twitter. Reached out to me. I told them if somebody wanted to use it, they could. So hopefully I'll get a Crawley Town fan that couldn't get a ticket to the game.
That's incredible. That's an incredible gesture, Brant, to purchase a ticket for a game that you're however many miles away from is incredible. And that sort of thing wouldn't happen at many other clubs, to be honest. That's a fantastic gesture from you.
Well, yeah, I really love the club. I only have 2 soccer fans. I have 2 clubs I follow, Crawley and Real Salt Lake. But I don't follow anything else. I don't follow the NBA. I don't follow the NFL. I don't have emotional draws or ties to any other clubs. These are the 2 that I give my allegiance to let things go like that. So is it better in League Two? Four teams are promoted, 3 teams automatic, and then places 4, 5, 6, and 7 playoff. Crawley finished in 7th, and 7th place has a really good record in advancing into promotion. Is it better to win the game at Wembley for a club than to say get the automatic promotion? or would you be more comfortable just winning outright? Because Crawley's done that a couple of times in the
Yeah.
past.
Well, I guess there's an argument for both, isn't there? You haven't got to go through the trauma of the playoffs and hoping that things go your way over the 3 games that could potentially be within the playoffs. If you get the job done and dusted and finish within the top 3 after the 46 games, we say congratulations to Stockport and Mansfield and Wrexham for what they achieved this season. We hope that we have to meet them again in League One next season. But once you're in the playoffs, like Scott has said so many times, no point getting to the playoffs and then you don't do anything with that opportunity. No point getting to Wembley if you don't go there and win. And I've heard it before, Brant, and I've been to both the old Wembley and the new Wembley since it's been developed to see Brentford. I've never seen them win there. I've got to be honest. It's a lonely, not a very nice place to be if you're not coming out of there as a spectator when your side has won. And so I sort of know what the Crawley fans will be going through on Sunday. If that turns out to be the case, I really hope it's not. But for us over here in the UK, Wembley is the home of football. And that is the ultimate venue that you want to be watching your side. You want to be playing there for your side. And I guess from my perspective for Sunday, it's a goal ticked off of my commentary CV that I get the opportunity to call the action on Sunday afternoon too. And I'm a tad nervous, Brent. I must admit, I'm a tad nervous about Sunday's commentary.
I would be as well. I'm sure everyone that's going there on both sides are incredibly excited and nervous for what could happen on Sunday. Now, you've got the championship playoff, right? That's I think Leeds is one of the teams headed in to the final, and the other was played today, probably. Can't remember the other two, but
it's being played tonight. It's a couple of hours. It's just approaching 6 o'clock our time here, and it's tonight between Southampton and West Bromwich Albion.
That's right.
To see who plays Leeds at Wembley. Yeah,
and the winner of that final gets promoted back to or up to the Premier League, and that's a $335 million game, right? The winning club can essentially count on $335 million the next season. I think of Luton. They must be so excited. They're disappointed they got relegated again, but they're probably sitting pretty with their bank account, at least with the benefit of being in the champion in movement to the Premier League. Is it the same moving from League Two to League One? Is it? I'm sure it's not $335 million.
No,
but is it a benefit? What are the benefits for moving up the pyramid there?
Well, it should be a better standard of football. And as a footballer, you obviously want to be playing at the highest level that you possibly can. There should be better grounds for the club to go to. There should be, like I say, a better standard of football. There will be, if Crawley make it up there will be some former Premier League sides that will be in League One next season. You look at the sides that dropped out of the Championship into League One. Birmingham City, former Premier League side. Huddersfield Town, former Premier League side. Reading are also in there as well. Wigan Athletic are also in there. Rotherham also dropped out of the Championship. They're now managed by a former Crawley manager in Steve Evans. There'll be the 3 sides, like we mentioned, that have already been promoted. So it should be a better standard of football. There'll be some old rivalries, some old acquaintances redone as well, because Exeter are there, Leyton Orient are there, Stevenage are there, teams that went up from Crawley's division a couple of seasons ago. Lincoln City are there, Blackpool are there. It's going to be a very, very tough league, but you know, the crowd should be better, the stadium should be better, the football should be better, and it's an opportunity for, we hope the Crawley players, but if not the Crew players, to pit their wits against better standard of opposition. And that, as I say, has got to be if you make it to be good enough to be a professional player, you want to be playing at the highest possible level, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say Crawley does not get too far ahead, or we could use Crew and Crawley. How tough is it to make the adjustment from League Two to League One? What usually happens? Is it teams stay up, or?
I think over recent years, quite a lot of teams have. I mean, Carlisle may be the slight exception to the rule in the last few seasons, because I think they won the playoff at Wembley last season by beating Stockport, and they finished bottom of League One this season. So there is a bit of a gulf between League Two and League One. And I would anticipate that whether it's Crawley or whether it's Crewe, there will be some changes in personnel over the course of the summer, because you're going to need, and I don't mean it horribly, you might need some different players to be coming in. It may be that some Crawley players, I don't know all the contract details of everybody. There might be some that are out of contract. There might be some that get released. Lawrence Maguire is only on loan from Chesterfield. I know that he's not on their retained list for next season. Good chance that Crawley will sign him permanently over the summer. And I'm sure when Sunday is done and dusted and he's had a holiday, Scott will look down and look at the personnel and maybe start to think about, okay, we need not a better option, but we need other options in this type of position. There might be teams that come in from the Championship that try to take some of Crawley's players away as well. So Crawley might lose players because of transfers going on to other clubs. And if a team from the Championship, let's say Southampton make it to Wembley, but then they lose to Leeds in the playoff final, Southampton might look at, say, Danilo Orsi and say, well, we'll have him. He did this last season for Crawley in League Two. Let's give him the opportunity. Now they'll put a bid in to try and sign him. And, you know, Crawley will have to do whatever they need to do, but probably can't compete with the wages that a team in the Championship might be able to offer. So there will be changes in personnel. You know, be it not compulsory, that's the wrong word, but be it changes because people are out of contract or players get shipped away because they don't fit in with what Scott's planning on doing next season, or Scott feels like he needs additional players in different areas of the field. There will be changes because it will be another very, very tough season. Another, you know, League Two has been tough this season and League One will be just as hard, if not harder, next season.
So what are your thoughts on Scott Lindsay as the head coach?
I think he should be knighted in the New Year's honours list when that comes around in December. I think he should be given the freedom of the town of Crawley for what he's done.
He'll never have to buy a drink in Crawley ever again.
Absolutely. Right? He should never have to pay for a taxi fare, never have to buy a drink or anything like that again. I think he could be in the manager's job for as long as he possibly wanted to be now, Brown. If he wanted to stay there for the rest of his career, so be it. I think he's proven this year that he is a very, very good manager. He seems like he's a very good manager. He seems like he's a very good tactician. He's a very good coach. He's not afraid to make the decisions to change things around slightly in terms of how the team is shaping up on the pitch, maybe change things tactically at half-time if things are not quite going the right way. Changing personnel during the course of a game if he feels like he needs to do something that's a little bit more defensive or a little bit more offensive and sort of drive the team forward. He's been great with the media. He's been great with me since the word go. I know that he loves to talk to the media. He's got a great affinity with the fans. We see that every week, you know, after a victory when he gives it the fist pump like this over to the fans. He didn't do it on the home leg against the MK Dons because he said to us afterwards, it's only half time. We could have won 74-0. I still wasn't going to do it until the job is done and dusted and we're at Wembley. He seems to be very level-headed. He seems to be very humble about what the side have achieved as well this season. He won't take all the credit for what's been achieved. He will put it down to the coaches. He will put it down to the medical team, the physios, the fans, the people behind the scenes, the people who sell the tickets, the people who work in the canteen, people like Ken, people like Tony that have been involved with the club for a long, long time. He's, you know, I've had to deal with a few Crawley managers in the 6 years that I've been covering the side. Scott is far and away the best to speak to after a game. Always willing to give his time, win, lose or draw after a game. Scott's always available to speak and give you his very honest opinion about the game. And he's just been an absolute delight to work with. And I really hope that Crawley get the job done on Sunday, obviously for Scott and for the players as much as, you know, the fans and everybody else connected with the club.
Do you think he stays with Crawley if they can't pull it off on Sunday? Or is he going to be in that kind of demand? Or is he loyal enough to stick around? Does he feel like the job isn't done yet? I mean, that's a lot of ifs, but
yeah. There's part of me that feels he would want to finish the job that he started. And if he can't do it on Sunday, I know we have to go back to game day number 1 and go through 46 games and see where that takes us by next April or May. But I think he would want to stick around and finish this job that he started. And I know that the owners had I think it was a 5 or 6 year plan to be in the Championship. So if it works on Sunday, that'll be 2 years to get into League One. They've still got 3 or 4 years to get through League One and into the Championship. And if it doesn't all work out on Sunday, yeah, I think Scott would want to stay and just try and finish the job and just achieve that promotion. And everybody would be happy with that. But hey, let's face it, he didn't get a nomination for the League Two Manager of the Season when he should have done.
Oh.
If it doesn't work on Sunday, nobody is going to turn around and say it's been a disappointing season. It's been absolutely phenomenal. Crawley, by Scott's own admission, Crawley have got no right to be in the playoffs. Never mind be at Wembley. So everybody's going to go and hopefully enjoy it, and I'm sure enjoy it more by 3:00 on Sunday afternoon if Dion Conroy, just above where I commentate, is lifting the League Two playoff trophy, and they're doing a lap of honour with that trophy.
Yeah, touch wood for that. So one last question about Lindsay, and then maybe some thoughts on players. His style, is that a traditional? It's not really traditional League Two style, right? The way that he has coached the team up to play, it's a little more fluid and really fun to watch. But it is kind of a departure from normal or traditional or regular League Two style of football. Is that fair?
Yeah, very fair. Crawley plays some wonderful football, which is why I think that Sunday will suit them very well, because the Wembley pitch is quite big. And I think it will suit the style of football that Crawley like to play. Crewe also like to try and get it down. They have a great history of playing some good football. I think it's going to be a good matchup on Sunday. It's going to be 2 very good footballing sides. And I think it's going to be a great advert for League Two. But yeah, it is a slight departure from the way that a lot of League Two sides play. There's historically, I think, a lot of what people would call kick and rush football. So it goes from back to front very, very quickly. Forwards just try and knock it around, and other players sort of try and pick up the pieces. The way that Scott has got them playing through what we call the thirds of the field, so defence to midfield, maybe back to defence, into midfield, then into attack, has been absolutely incredible. Some of the goals that Crawley have scored, if you just think back as recently as the 2 games against MK Dons, some of the goals that Crawley have scored, that goal, the goal right at the start of the second half on Saturday night when Lolos checks back inside and plays it through to Liam Kelly, who squares it for Orsi to touch it into the empty net. I think on the Sky commentary was called a work of art. I think I said something like, cutting through the MK Dons defence like a knife through butter. Believe me, Brant, if that had been scored by Manchester City or Liverpool or Arsenal or something like that, you would have been seeing that goal time and time again on the TV over here. And like I said to you earlier on, people are starting to realise the sort of football that Crawley like to play. And, yes, the Dons might have given up the ghost by then, but Crawley have still got to score the goals and put teams to bed and make sure that they did the job. And that goal was, like Sky said, an absolute work of art. It was brilliant. And the football that they've played has been sensational.
Yeah, I have enjoyed almost every minute of it. It's been a fantastic season. So a few players, maybe you want to touch on some players that have really stood out this season. You talked about Scott Lindsay being willing to make changes. Jeremy Kelly, the American, came in the winter January transfer window, and Nick Cerula took his spot. Jeremy Kelly's a little more forward offensive player, and Nick's a little more defensive. But both 2 fantastic players. But what are your thoughts on some of the standout players?
Isn't that a great indication, though, of how far the side have come, Brant, that Nick Cerula can't get in the starting 11? Like that would have been unthinkable, wouldn't it, at the start of the season?
Absolutely.
Nick Cerula would have been one of the first names on the team sheet, that he was going to play the left-hand side of defence or the left-hand side of midfield or where it happened to be. He had a few games where he switched over to the right. And I just looked at that bench last week, and I said it in commentary, and I said it to Tony as well. That's a really strong bench. There is not one player there where you would think, well, I'm not sure if you come on that you'll do a job. Will Wright went off injured towards the end of the first half last week. Joy McKenna came on, looked like he'd been playing there all season. Absolutely no hesitation. If Will Wright isn't fit to play on Sunday, that'll be a big loss. But I don't mean that disrespectfully to McKenna. He's bided his time. He's waited for his opportunity, and he's come in and done a phenomenal job. Adi Amo, when he's had the opportunity to play as well. There is not one player at the moment that doesn't look comfortable when they get the ball in possession, moving it onto another red shirt or white shirt, sorry, as it's going to be on Sunday, moving it onto another Crawley Town shirt. Jeremy Kelly has been sensational, shown exactly what he's capable of. Again, it was a name nobody knew coming over from the States, but he's shown exactly why he was held in such high regard and why Crawley signed him. Corey Adai, like you mentioned before, brilliant between the sticks. Dion Conroy, I think, has worn the captain's armband superbly as well in the absence of Ben Gladwin. Liam Kelly has been sensational pretty much every week, certainly finding his form again now. And one of the names we mentioned at the top of the conversation, Brant, Jay Williams, just drags his team over the line, doesn't he? Whether he's wearing the armband or he's like, if Dion Conroy's the man wearing the armband, Jay Williams is like having another leader around on the field. And Scott has said to me before, an absolute warrior, and he just drags his side over the finish line. And some of those challenges that he made, yes, sometimes he gets it wrong and he gets a yellow card for being a little bit over exuberant and a little bit over the top. But some of the challenges that he makes just to break up the play in front of that defensive unit. And I'm glad he's now finding himself on the score sheet as well, Jay Williams, because that was the one thing that was maybe missing from his game. He was doing some great defensive work, but maybe not getting on the score sheet as often as he could. And he scored in both the legs against MK Dons, didn't he? Scored at home and then got the ball rolling, quite literally got the ball rolling on Saturday night with the first goal. Yeah. And I think you could make a case for anybody and everybody that's pulled on the shirt this season. Brad, we haven't spoken about Orsi, 20-odd goals this season. We haven't spoken about Harry Forster, coming in from non-league last season. Had to bide his time a little bit. Wasn't always first choice to be in the side, but has just been wonderful.
Do you expect to see him? He went out with a knock, looked like a hamstring.
Yeah. I hear that both he and Will Wright were going to be training with the squad today. They'll probably do a very light training session tomorrow. The team, there won't be anything too much. I wouldn't think. The side have travelled up to Wembley today. I've already seen some things on social media that they're already there, taking in the atmosphere and the size of the stadium, etc., etc.
Yeah, Rob drove them up there, right?
Yeah. So I'd anticipate that if they're both okay, then I would anticipate that it will be an unchanged starting 11 on Sunday afternoon. So the back three that we're always used to seeing, obviously Corey in goal, Forster one side, Jeremy Kelly the other, Liam Kelly and Jay Williams in the central midfield, and then Adam Campbell and Lolos, another name we haven't mentioned, behind Orsi as the main striker. And it's Crew, from what they did in their semi-final, match up with exactly the same formation. So a 3-4-2-1, just as the Dons did. It'll be just a like for like against each other on Sunday.
It's going to be who can possess the ball more, and is it going to be a possession based? What are you expecting in the game? Are they going to change how they approach the game and be a little more conservative?
I don't think they will. No, I don't think they will. Scott is trying to downplay it as being just another game. He's just trying to keep the players' feet on the ground during this week. I don't think there's many Crawley players who've played at Wembley before. I know Lawrence Maguire did play there last season for Chesterfield in their National League playoff final. He scored a penalty.
Liam Kelly's played in a couple finals.
Liam Kelly, potentially. I know Dion Conroy has been there when he was a youth player at Chelsea as a spectator. I know Scott has been there as a assistant manager, I think, with Forest Green Rovers a few seasons ago. And he's trying to get them to approach it as just another game. Because I think if he, by his own admission in the press conference this week, if he bigs it up a bit too much, then the nerves might start to kick in for the players. He wants them just to go through exactly the same as if we were at home to Crewe on Saturday afternoon at the Broadfield Stadium or on a Tuesday night or something like that. So, and I think, like I said to you before, I think the game itself will be two very good footballing sides. Yes, there'll be some nerves probably from both sides. But if Crawley can get their noses in front early, like they did in both of the playoff games against the Dons, then I can see Crawley winning. Brant, I'm not going to lie. I can see Crawley winning. And I've been asked by everybody that I've spoken to today and a couple of people earlier in the week as well about a score prediction. And I've said that Crawley are going to win it by 3-1.
That's rather bold. I'll go with that. That sounds.
Okay,
Let's just go with that.
okay.
That
I
sounds
won't go
good.
as far as naming goal scorers because I really don't care who it is.
No,
And I don't care if it finishes 1-0 and it goes in off of a Crew defender's backside in the 89th minute or something. I really don't care.
we'll take
But
four
I
own goals from Crew.
yeah, exactly. I think in the end, I'm not going to say it'll be comfortable, but I think it will look like a comfortable scoreline. And Crawley, I think, will have the lion's share of possession. So they need to make sure they do something with that possession, which they've been doing in recent games.
Yeah,
Not have the possession and then have nothing to show for it.
yeah. Some teams have been able to kind of stifle their. That's how the teams that kind of make their life miserable force them to try and break them down. Barrow did that to their own demise because that one point they came in and got at Crawley was the instead of going for the win, they gave
Mm.
Crawley a point and
Mm.
Barrow missed the playoffs by 1 point. I always
Yeah.
find that kind of humorous.
And Barrow are, and I don't mean it horribly to Barrow at all. But the way that their manager gets them to play is like we were speaking about before. It goes very quickly from the defence, bypasses the midfield, straight up towards the forwards, and then everybody tries to get forward in support of the forwards. And I remember saying to Tony before the game against Barrow at home, we're going to spend a lot of the game when Barrow have got the ball doing this and watching the ball just go from there. There'll be none of this sort of just watching it being knocked around on the floor. We'll probably have a sore neck by the end of the night because it will just go that way, up towards Telford and people like that.
Well, I know you're probably running out of little time. You got other people to talk to and
Yeah,
all of that.
yeah.
Do you have anything else you'd want to share? Trying about Crawley I have been doing my best to recruit fans here, telling them go watch these games on over here. They're on ESPN Plus. You can watch. They they televise the first two games of the playoffs with Crawley. So I watched
Okay.
both of those. I might have watched them several times now, over and over. But the final is on ESPN Plus. So what would you say to folks to come and watch Crawley that haven't in the past?
I would say come watch the games. It's a fantastic brand of football that the Red Devils are currently playing. If you enjoy Sunday, come back again next season, be it in League Two or hopefully into League One. And I just hope that Sunday, Brant, everybody connected with the club enjoys their day out. Obviously, hopefully by winning the trophy. But I just hope everybody just enjoys the day, enjoys the journey to get to Wembley, enjoys everything to do with the day. Enjoys watching the game. Don't let it pass you by in a blur. Try and take everything in. I'll certainly be trying to do the same. It's the biggest commentary of my career. And I just want to say to yourself, Brant, and lots of other people, thank you for your continued support during the course of the season. It's a pleasure and an honour this season to pick up the microphone. And I'm very, very fortunate to be in that position to now to be going to Wembley for a commentary. But thank you for your continued support. You're always in touch during the course of the game. I know that you try and spread the word. Getting to Wembley is as much for you as all the other people that get in touch with me during the course of a game. Whether they can get there on Sunday or not, I don't know. People like Ken, who's been a Crawley fan for 60 years. People like Tony, who played over 400 games for the club. People like the dad of a supporter who lives in Marbella in Spain, Brant, who wrote to me to say before the playoffs, I really hope Crawley get there, Gary, because I can come back to the UK and take my 92-year-old dad to Wembley to see his Crawley Town side at Wembley for the first ever time. This game on Sunday is for people like that and people that have been involved with the club for many, many years. And like I said to you earlier, Brant, you buying a ticket for a game that you're miles and miles away from is just incredible dedication to the club. I know that when you came over, you met Scott, you met some of the players, and if they win on Sunday, he will dedicate to, and I will say to him, there are people, Scott, in the States, in Canada. I think I've got one listener in Perth, in Australia, who regularly gets in touch.
We got the young man from China.
Yeah, I'm just humbled that people take the time to listen to the commentary and the kind words that I get about the commentary. I'm hoping that I can do the commentary justice on Sunday, and the players can do the club justice, and the fans can do the club justice in the stands, and that we could all enjoy a wonderful, wonderful day in the history of the club, the first time ever at Wembley. Let's just all enjoy it and hope that the result goes our way.
So will Ken be sitting? Who's going to be sitting next to you? You're going to have both Ken and Tony?
No, because a three-way commentary is technically a little bit tricky.
Absolutely.
So Tony is with me. We were going to have, because we go on air on BBC Radio Sussex from 12 o'clock on Sunday, so an hour before the kickoff. So we got a presenter called Danny Pike, and the initial plan was that Tony was going to summarise the game with me, and Ken was going to be sat, and I was going to go to Ken during the game for his thoughts on things, as well as going to Tony. But Ken has elected to take a hospitality ticket, so he's going to be enjoying some Wembley hospitality that I'm told is fantastic. And I don't blame him for that at all, Brant. I don't blame him at all. He can have that as a reward for his work over the season. He travels up and down the country to be alongside me at away games. He drives the media team to the away games. He does it all voluntarily. Neither he nor Tony pick up any money for what they do alongside me for a game. So I really hope Ken enjoys his day. For people who've said on social media that, why is Ken not alongside you? Technically, it's a difficult thing to get a three-way commentary going. And Ken is having some hospitality, I think, as a reward for what he's done this season. He deserves to enjoy the day as much as he possibly can.
Yeah, I think I would probably do the same. If I was a 60-year fan and I wanted to enjoy the game, I would go as much as I would enjoy talking. I think I would be a little too emotional. I can imagine Ken being incredibly emotional when it comes to that event. So, but like I said, I will be doing my best to recruit people to watch the game. I've got my some family coming over. We're going to do some breakfast. It'll be the game starts at 6 a.m. here for us. So I figure breakfast might get them there. So might even have our fellow podcaster Tyler come over and watch the game. So we'll see if they can get up. That's the plan. But I will definitely be enjoying the game. Like I did on the other games, I try and line you up because it's just audio only on iFollow over here.
Yeah.
Because I think his ESPN has got the video.
Okay.
So I listen to you and have the video up. I try and get it all lined up. But I will be listening to you, tuning in, and I hope more people in the States will be tuning in, especially in this area, enjoying Crawley and hopefully enjoying Crawley in League One next year. So thank you for your time and thank you for your friendship.
No problem at all, Brant. It's great to hear from you. Enjoy the game on Sunday. I'm sure you'll drop me a message. I'll do my best to give you a mention. And maybe we'll talk next week or the next couple of weeks. I go away next Friday actually for a week's rest and relaxation because it's coming up to a week's school holiday here. So me and Wendy and our daughter are going away for a week in a couple of weeks' time. But after that, perhaps we'll catch up over the summer and reflect on and look ahead to a season in League One next season.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Thank you so much, Gary.
Cheers, Brant. Take care, mate.
See ya.
All the best. Bye-bye.